Well, since it's so hot today, I figured it'd be a good day to test out the AC system in this tab. I did have somebody ask me to go over that, and I thought today would be a great day to try to test out the AC system since it is so hot. I'm going to do this in kind of a real world way here. I'd never be camping in this temperature, but if you had to, we're going to go over that. So first thing I'm going to do in here to get this thing cooled off, I'm going to slide the screen closed, and we're going to open up this vent, and we're going to get some airflow in here to get some of the stagnant heat out. And we're going to see what our inside temp is at the moment. It was 118 in the sun, and we are cooking at 116 in the trailer. So direct sunlight's going to be hotter. I'm getting a little shade on this side of the trailer, so I probably cooled it down a little bit in here. But this is going to be a good test to see if this Elwell AC system can hang. We're going to start out by turning on the AC here. It's got to be the on button. Sometimes it's hard to see. You got to get in line with this panel. It's going to take a few minutes to figure out what it's doing usually if you haven't used it in a while. But while it's trying to figure out what it's doing, we're going to take a break so I don't sweat to death out here. Okay, the system just kicked on and it is 2 o'clock, and we're going to see how long it takes to cool down to about 78 degrees in here. Okay, back in the trailer. It's been 45 minutes and our screen is blank here, so I don't know if I popped a breaker on the trailer or it's the GFI in the house. So we're going to take a look. Well, by the looks of the indicator lights on my surge protector, we have no power going to this. I have no light on in the GFI. So apparently I just popped the GFI in the house. I have ran this no problem, run the AC off of the normal 120 there, 110 plug, and it shouldn't be a problem, but it is super hot today and this system's going to be working. So we're going to go for backup here and use the generator until I can get that figured out. So we're going to use the old reliable Honda 22i. I don't know how much fuel I have in here, but I need to run it out anyway, so we're just going to use this. Okay, we're up and running on the generator. Back on into the trailer, and yep, that's exactly our issue. As I blew the GFI, and we'll get that figured out later. Just got a hold of my electrician buddy and said it's probably just an old GFI on the side of the house. The thing is probably like 30 years old. So I've had no other problems running this trailer off the 110 board on the house. So I think you can still do it. It is super hot today. I don't know if that was a factor or not, but we are running on generator power right now. The generator is reading about 1,350 watts of power being used, so should have been fine on the house on that plug anyway. But at the moment, we are down to about 104, 102 in here from 116, so we'll let this continue going and see where we're at here in a few minutes. Looks like we have a little condensation drippage. See if I can get a shot of the intake port here. And there is an exit port over here for heat coming out. You can feel it's nice and hot, but kind of noisy. We are about 2 hours in, and we need to subtract out a half hour for when the GFI popped and I had to hook up the generator. But we're down to about 93 on the Air8. The Alde says it's 89 degrees. That'll eventually equal out, and you can adjust the temperature compensation on that Alde if you want them to match. We'll go over that in a little bit. But I'm not sure where the Alde temperature sensor is. But right back here is where the Elwell system or Air8 temperature sensor is. So a little bit of sound of the AC for you in here. This phone mic's gonna pick up a lot more than what it actually sounds like. It's not too bad. You do have 3 vents. You got one down here, one over here, and the vent up here. I'll tell you what, this thing blows some serious air out, and you're gonna get a little sound out of that, but that's just telling me it's cooling this thing down. To have air conditioning while I'm out camping, I mean, that's a huge luxury in itself, so I don't mind the sound. Besides, it beats being outside sweating to death. And if you're running a generator for power, it kind of mutes out the sound of the generator outside. So I would say it's pretty comfortable if you were in here hanging out. See if you can hear the compressor running back here. It just purrs and hums away. So while we're getting this trailer down to temp, I'm going to show everybody where that air conditioning system is located. And in a 2023 tab, and I think a few other older models that's still in the same position, it's going to be under your passenger side bed cushion. There's a little pull tab here, and you can lift this up and out of the way. And there's your Elwell Air 8 system. Sounds a lot louder with that cushion out of there. And for those wondering where your air filter goes, it's down in here. There's a notch on each side. You have to push in and pull down. There's a little clip, and this pulls out. It is a bit of a pain to finagle that thing out of the way, but you can get to it pretty easy. While we're in here, I want to show everybody one of the reasons I decided to buy a new camp product. When I went through all kinds of trailers out there, I went in and out of everything, opening drawers, cabinets, and out of all the trailers I've seen out there, other than maybe an Airstream, the new camp products seem to be the cleanest. All this area in here on the floor, everywhere under all the benches and the cabinets, was very, very clean. And that tells me that somebody actually took some care. Many of those trailers out there would have pieces of wood in here. It looked like they used a steak knife to cut holes through panels and left trash and wire clippings. So New Camp definitely cares about what they're doing, and that was a big deciding factor on getting this trailer. Over here under the right side cushion is where your Alde heater is located and plumbing. Might as well go over this too while we're at it, while we're waiting for the trailer to cool down. Alright, let's do a quick overview of some key components for this Alde system. First, we're going to go over the infamous yellow flapper valve, located here. It may be somewhere else in some of the other model years. But if this valve is facing flat to the floor, whether it's front to the back, that means the system is closed and it can fill the tank with water. If this thing is up, it's going to drain the water out of the tank. And it is recommended every month or before usage that you should probably drain this tank to replenish the air cushion inside the boiler. Now what you do is you open up your faucets right in the middle, hot and cold, let it drain. Open that valve up, let the tank drain out, close your valve again, turn on your water pump. It should have been off before you did that, but turn your water pump on, allow the water to pressurize again, and what that does is create an air cushion inside of this, meaning it's going to leave a little airspace so that when this tank warms up, it has somewhere to go when that pressure builds. Now, if you have any leaking out of the bottom of your trailer, you can try to find that underneath, and you'll notice that it has popped the valve. Now, if it is leaking all the time, you either need to release pressure or you have a failing valve. But what I like to do is, when I get to camp every time, I just open this thing up, let it drain out some pressure. Of course, the water pops off at that time, and then I close it, and I've always been good. The other thing that I've noticed is this condensation line coming out of here, and that runs right down next to that valve underneath. Sometimes you'll see some dripping out of this. It isn't going to be a lot, and usually it only happens when it's really humid out, or maybe there's a little extra pressure built up in this tank, is what I think it's doing, and that's normal too. Right underneath this cover, your wires come in, and you have a fuse right in here. They even gave me a couple extra ones. All this puddle of piping runs outside to your Nautilus system, and this right here, at least in this model, is the hot and cold mixing valve. And what you do is you pop this cap off, which totally sucks as a wrench, and that's what it was designed to do. It gets wallowed out. You flip it upside down and you put it on the adjuster nut here. Now in my case, when this turns all the way to the left, it gets hotter. It opens this up. You'll see more threads coming out, meaning it's going to allow hot water to come in here and come out the main mixer pipe here. This is your cold water coming in. Pretty simple. Blue and red. Hot and cold. If you turn this more to the right, it closes off the hot, and you can adjust your temperature on your shower and your faucets. Usually you want this almost all the way open or all the way turned left. In my case, I adjusted it down just a couple turns to get the perfect water temperature for the shower. Then take your cap and you pop it back on. Right here is your water pump and your water pump filter. Now to take this off, you need to first make sure you do not have your water pump on, and you've already drained the water out of your sinks to relieve pressure in the lines, because if this is under pressure, it'll blow water all over the place. So what you're going to do is you're going to loosen this thing up very carefully, and you can pull it out, and you can see there's a screen inside that you can rinse out. I do this every so often. I found little tiny pieces of PVC plastic in there, probably from construction, and you just rinse it out, and then you carefully set it back down on here and you snug it back up. You don't need to really crank down on this thing, just give it a nice snug. Then you can turn your water pump on a pressurized system, make sure you don't have any leaks here. Now the glycol solution for that Alde in this model tab 320 is back behind your toilet. You have to carefully pop off these caps for the screws, unscrew this panel and pop it out, and you're gonna find your Alde refill reservoir back here. It's a real pain to get to, it's very hard to see. You're gonna have to look at it from the side. But if you top off that reservoir that's inside, there's two lines, low and full. And when you check this is when the system's cold. And you want to make sure that that fluid is just over the low fill line. You don't want to fill this thing up. It'll heat, just like a car radiator system, it'll heat and expand, and you definitely don't want that expanding and overflowing back in here. Now on some of these tab trailers, that expansion tank can be hidden in some other places. I know that in some of the older ones, it's back behind a little panel in here. On this 23 model, there's a bleed line sticking up back here for that Alde system. Well, my gallon of gas just ran out in the generator, so I'm gonna have to run out and grab some gas to finish up this video, but we made it to 79 degrees. We're only 1 degree off. And when I get some gas, we'll start going over this stuff here, because I need to run the AC in here before it gets too hot. Okay, just got back from getting some gas, filling up the generator, and we fired up the AC in the trailer again. So we got down to 79 degrees from 116 today. That's pretty good. It took about 4.5 hours from 2 o'clock to 6:45-ish. I took a half hour out of that because my GFI took a crap on the house and I had to plug into the generator. I have ran this thing when it is hot out, and once it gets cooled down to temp, it does a really good job of keeping the trailer cool. Okay, now we can start going over this control panel here and some of the functions. It's not too overly complex. It is a pain to figure out how to set your time and date. You got to go on your manual or look it up on the YouTube or online, but other than that, just like a house, you have your temperature up and your temperature down. Then you have your fan speeds: low, medium, and high. This little swirly doohickey here means that it's on a kind of an optimal fan control. Once the AC starts cooling down, it'll kick the fan speed down, and then it'll finally kick the AC off. This right here controls what mode we're in as far as cooling. The snowflake indicates air conditioning. The fan is just the fan. You can hear the fans just barely running. The compressor just turned off. The water droplet is a dehumidifying mode. And then we go back to the snowflake for air conditioning. There is also a way to set this thing so that your fans will continuously run even when the compressor shuts down. You have to do some weird configuration here and hold buttons at the same time, and then it'll give you a key access code here to where you punch in a set of numbers that you have to do some digging to find. There is a video out there how to do this, and I tried it. And then you can leave your fans running all the time, even when the compressor isn't kicked on. Now, I tried that for a little while and it worked out, but I didn't like having the fan noise constantly running. So I went back and I changed the code in the system and brought it back to where it was to begin with. I don't want to show you that because trying to find the code to get it back into the mode that this came in is a real pain to find online and do. One other thing I was trying to find online is this has a sensor right here, and I'm not sure if it works or not, but they were supposed to, I think, either give you a remote or maybe an app to do everything through that, but I haven't seen anything on that yet. Okay. Now we're going to go over the Alde panel. I'm going to try to explain this the best I can. There's a ton of videos on this. Maybe they missed a few things. I'll try to simplify some stuff here, okay? Okay, we're going to start with the obvious here. How to turn this thing on button. And in this 23 tab, we're running the 3020 HE model. So if you have that model, this may help you out a little bit. I have my screen set so it's got the black background, so it's not just lit up bright white all the time. And this flashing little symbol that I have on right now is for high altitude mode. And you can remember that by the little flashing mountains and the little road. The symbol over here is a plug because I am plugged into shore power, aka the generator. That's just showing your temperature of the house. We're at 76 degrees now. Your date and time. And now we're going to go into the menu function here. Fairly simple with all these little emojis. Some of them look kind of weird, so we'll explain that. This is the obvious one. You have your temperature up and down. The next one is going to be your hot water, hence the shower. When there's nothing here, the Alde isn't heating anything. When it's halfway, it's going to heat that system up to about 140 degrees, I think. And I'll get into where you can see what it's doing in a minute. If you hit that again, you're on full power. That's 30 minutes of hot water, and it superheats the system, and it cuts your main heating through the plumbing that heats the trailer for the ambient heat inside. Once that's done at 30 minutes, it'll go back down to halfway unless you turn it off. The next one is going to be your shore power. Right now I have it off. You can set it to 1 kilowatt, which heats very slowly, or you can set it to 2 kilowatts, which should speed the system up. It still isn't as fast as running gas, but we are on gas right now, so we want to hit that and turn it green. Now it indicates that we are in gas mode. I do want to point out that you can run this on both modes if you're plugged in. You can run electric and gas simultaneously to heat this system faster. Over here on the gear icon is all the rest of your settings. This A is going to give you your activated features. So right now the only feature that I have activated is the high altitude mode. And what the high altitude mode is for this system anyway, anything above 3,000 feet, it kicks on a fan in the Alde, is what I think it's doing, to push a little more air into the system when you're up at higher altitudes and thinner air, so that the heater burns efficiently in there. Now we can go into our other settings and systems here. So the little moon button is going to be your night mode. And you can turn it on and off right here. What you can do is set your time that you want the Alde to kick on and off during the night. You can have the heater kick on and off at a certain time, and your hot water. The little sun is going to be the same thing, but for your daytime mode. Right here is the little light bulb, and it looks like our screen panel. And that is so you can change the backlighting in this to dark or light, brighter, or less bright. The reason this one is in gray is because we don't have that feature installed. There are all kinds of different setups and features that could be added onto this in different RVs, some of which we don't get. This one's kind of obvious. It's a clock. You can set your day and time on that. This button here is your priority. You have gas or electric. So you can set the priority of the Alde to be electric or gas, and it'll choose whichever one it picks up first to use. If you go down, you come into the next set of settings. This right here is where you set Celsius or Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what these do here. That's actually an engine heater if it were stalled into an RV, and probably floor heating. We don't have those options. Our third set of settings here, we have the crossed out Pac-Man. And what that does is, when you turn that on, somewhere around 2 in the morning, it'll fire up the Alde and superheat the water in the system, killing off any potential bacteria or harmful viruses that could be in the tank. Or you can do it by just turning your water heater all the way up, and it should kill stuff off that way too. This right here is temperature compensation. So if we want to adjust the temperature for the Alde to match the exact temperature of this Air8, we can go up and down a couple degrees here to try to get that to match up, if you have OCD. Or if you have a thermometer in this trailer and you want it to be exactly the correct temperature. Once again, that's our high altitude mode for when you're above 3,000 feet. This is your beeping for the buttons. You can turn it on and off. So the hourglass here is another version of a timing system where you can set the Alde to kick on and off at a certain day and time. Alright, this little swirly thing with arrows, that symbolizes your pump that pumps the glycol around the trailer. There are 2 modes on here. You got continuous and you got thermal. On thermal, it only runs the pump to push the fluid around the trailer when it needs to. On continuous, it will continuously pump that fluid around the trailer, but you should leave it on thermal so you don't have your pump running continuously. Continuous is usually when you're having your Alde serviced. In our settings number 4, we have a complete reset of everything back to the factory settings. This is for an external switch. So I'm guessing if you had another one of these in the other end of a larger RV, or if you were using maybe a Wi-Fi connection with this or something else, you could probably program it to that, but we don't have that option here in the tabs. You can hit that. There is no accessories installed here. Your service button is kind of interesting. So this will tell you what your fan is doing in your heater, how fast it's spinning. Now you can hear the alarm going off, right? That alarm is indicating that I had a gas failure because I had the gas on. Simply just turn your gas off. So let's go back to the service button here. Now our fan rotation is 0. There is no fan pumping through the Alde to ignite the system here. Your glycol temp and water temp. And this is where you can watch to see how hot your water temperature is getting up to and how hot your glycol fluid is in the system to heat your trailer. And if you click down while in service, you get another set of information. Your computer board temp, no external switch, boiler, not sure what the panel means, but there is another way to check your battery voltage on there. And you can click down one more time, and I guess this is if we had other systems tied in that you could use, voice mics. It looks like if you had an air conditioner tied in, you can get the temperature between the heater and the AC on and off to where you wanted it. Well, to wrap up this video, I'll show you the final stats here on the air conditioning system. We just ended up at about 78 degrees. We've been stabilized here for a couple hours at that, and our Alde temperature is matching our air conditioning temperature because I've adjusted that Alde to match. Not a very exciting video, but kind of interesting to see if the Air8 system here by Elwell could handle the heat in an extreme environment. And I would say 116 inside this trailer was beyond the normal usage of what you would put it through, so I would say pass with flying colors. It took about 4.5 hours to get it from 116 down to about 78, 79 degrees, and that was done during the hottest part of the day. Right now we're still sitting at about 98 degrees outside at 10:30 at night. Now, how long can that hold up doing that? I'm not sure. We'll find out in the years to come. But I don't make it a habit to go camping when it's above 110 or 115, 120 degrees outside. So, but kind of cool to know that that AC system could handle it if it needed to. And even with this tab only having about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches worth of insulation inside, that it actually keeps it pretty cool in here. That AC kicks on and off about every 5 to 10 minutes. It'll last a little while and then it'll kick back off. So it's not stressing the system out at all. Not a very exciting video, but maybe helpful to some of those out there that want to know how this stuff works. And I figured it was also a good opportunity to explain a little bit of the Alde system at the same time. I don't know everything. I've only been doing this for about 7 months. And the way I find this stuff out is I do a lot of searching on YouTube and on the forums and group pages on Facebook. So I can't take all the credit for knowing any of this. In fact, if you need to know more about all this stuff, I suggest subscribing to the New Camp and Tab pages on Facebook. There's one man in particular on there named Paul that is the guru of all things Tab. And he's been a huge help for me and a lot of people out there when it comes to some of this stuff we can't figure out or hasn't been written quite fully or clear in the manuals and instructions for this stuff. I probably missed a lot on a lot of this and misspoke, so don't hold me to everything 100% on all this. But nevertheless, it was kind of fun to do. I was curious on how long it would take to cool this thing down at 116 degrees, so Now, a lot of this is going to depend on your area and where you camp or where you live. If it's more humid outside, I'm going to assume that it's going to be pretty tough on this AC system to keep up. But now we know it's possible. Hopefully I didn't bore everybody too much with this, and I spoke clearly enough over the loud AC vents blowing out. Well, now it's time to call it a day and pack everything up in here, get this trailer set up for the next trip in about a week or so, and then I'll put up another video. I'm gonna head up north again to a new spot, get out of this hot heat, hopefully down into the 80s, and come up with a video that's a little more interesting and fun than AC and heating systems. So I'll see you in a few weeks.